Welcome back to another exciting video, and what we're talking about today is the relationship between the major scale, the minor scale, the pentatonic scale, how I like to use them, well, to keep it pretty easy. So chances are, if you play any type of music whatsoever, you understand what a major and minor scale is. And the relationship between them, it should be pretty obvious at this point. But just in case it's not, I'm going to go over it real quick, just in case there is somebody new to the channel who is not familiar with the major and minor scale. So we're just going to run over this real quick. So sorry if you're an advanced player, just so you can skip ahead a little bit. So let's just run over this real quick. So if we start here at the 8th fret, we're going to play the C major scale. And I'm going to talk about the beauty of playing the C major scale in the position I'm getting ready to play it, and why this is an integral part of playing, and everybody should know, especially if you're a guitar player, you should know how to play the major scale in this position. So we're going to play 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. Now, the beauty of playing the scale in this, not position of C, but playing in this position that has this series of notes, is it is fantastic, absolutely fantastic for shreddy guitar playing. What do I mean? Well, if you notice, there's only 3 patterns, and each pattern repeats every 2 strings. So here we go, starting at the 8th. They're both 8, 10, 12. And if we go down to the 4th string, 4th and 3rd, they are both 9, 10, 12. And then if we jump up to strings 2 and 1, they're both 10, 12, 13. The best thing, the easiest thing, the thing you need most in order to play fast shreddy passages, the things that help you get from A to D the best, are, first thing, 3 notes per string. Always better to have 3 notes per string. Shredding on 2 notes per string, 2 picks per string, is actually really, really hard. But the other thing that is great to have is repeating patterns. Repeating patterns make it so much easier because there's so much less brain power that has to go into what you're doing. So it doesn't matter where you're playing, whatever scale it is, the pattern is always the same. And that is fantastic for shreddy passages, especially if you like doing legato stuff. It is great for doing fast legato work. Fantastic, because it's very easy to remember the patterns. And it's always the same, no matter what key you're playing it in, the pattern is always the same. Now, playing in the C major scale, that's what we know here. We just learned the C major scale. Well, each scale has a relative minor to it. And what the relative minor is, it's the same exact thing. It just starts and ends on a different note. So, again, if you haven't watched my video on intervals, watch that video, because that's really going to help you understand what I'm getting ready to talk about right now. And I do have another video coming up on intervals where we go a little more in depth in scale work. But if you haven't seen it, watch that. So if we're going to play in A minor, well, guess what? We can play in the same exact place. We just start on the 6th interval of C major. So if we count up 6, here's our A right here. And then we can just literally play the same thing. And we're just ending on the A for the A minor. And that gives our scale a very minor sound, as opposed to starting here, which gives it a very major sound. Now, if you're used to playing this position of the major scale, whatever you play it in, if you notice one thing, it actually goes through 2.5 octaves. Well, and that sucks. Look. Octave, octave. We're 2.5 octaves. Well, that sucks. What are we going to do with this part here? Well, granted, it's in key, but isn't there a better way to where you always end on a root note? Well, yeah, there is. Play the same exact thing, but instead of starting on the 6th string, start on the 5th string. Check this out. Octave. Octave. So this brings us back to our root note, and it's the last note in the scale starting on the 5th string. And of course it works like that for every single key. And the thing I like about soloing there in the major scale is it's just a little bit less brain power I have to be concerned with. Because no matter what I'm playing, as long as I end the passage and I play through the whole 2 octaves, I'm always going to end on the C note because it is the last step, because I've only got 4 fingers. So it's the last step in the scale. Without sliding or moving somewhere else, that's where it ends. And it brings me right back to my target note of my root, which is C. Well, the same thing works here. We can just jump into the A minor scale right here. Our 6th degree. And there's our octave again. So if we're playing something in C, and we want to target that C, here we are. And then our next chord, maybe it just happens to be an A minor. Then we want to target that A. And now we can target that A, and it makes it very easy. And again, this is where intervals come into. Intervals are just so important to learn, because no matter what key you're playing in, the letters are always going to change. Always. If you're playing in the key of C, well, you're going to have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, so on, so on, so on, so on. But if you're playing in the key of G, now you're going to have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. But if you're doing it by intervals, guess what? The numbers never change. If we're here in the key of A major, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we're in the key of G, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we're in the key of C, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't change. And that's why it's just absolutely critical for you to understand the intervals. Because this way you don't have to think, well, it's G and it's got an F sharp, blah, 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 blah. If you're in G, you need to know that it has an F sharp, but you don't have to know that it has an F sharp if you understand the intervals. Because if we're going to go from a C, we're going to play in C here, and that's our first chord, and our second chord happens to be an A, well, we know we just got to go up to the 6th interval. If we're going to start on a C, and the next chord's an A, we want to end on that A. We just know we got to go to the 6th interval for it to end on the A. We don't necessarily have to think, okay, it starts on a C, so I got to be on a C note. It ends on an A, so I got to be on an A note. We don't have to think that. Because when we change keys, then all of a sudden, all those letters change again. The first one's D, and what is the 6th? What is the 6th? Well, if you understand the intervals, it doesn't matter what the 6th is. You just go to the 6th degree and play the note. If it's playing in that progression of C major to A minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it makes understanding the music so much easier learning the intervals. But you understand now how we have the C major. And if we just wanted to play into the A minor, we can easily step into the A minor right there and just kind of, go in and out between the two, even though they're the same exact thing. The only thing that differentiates the C major scale from the A minor scale, well, is the root note. Where are you starting? In A minor, you start on A. In C major, you start on C. But When I'm playing in the major scale, like I said, I love playing here because it always ends, if I'm playing in C major, it always ends on that C major note, starting on the 5th string. But here's another reason why I love playing off of the 5th string, because it's going to set me up perfectly to go into my minor pentatonic of the minor scale of the relative major. Check this out. And look at the notes I'm playing. If you understand, if you heard the accent notes, which surely to God you did, if you notice those notes are that's my minor pentatonic scale. So the minor pentatonic scale is hanging off of the C major starting on the 5th string. Well, now it works like that for every minor pentatonic scale. Why are you showing me this? Every single minor pentatonic scale, inside of every major scale, there's going to be a part of the minor pentatonic scale and a part of the A minor scale. Well, that is correct. That is very true in every single one. But 90%, and I get, no, piss on that. 95% of everybody who solos, I don't care who you are, you solo in this position of the minor pentatonic scale. Why? Why do we solo in that position? Well, because honestly, it's the most useful position of all the minor pentatonic scales. That's why everybody keeps running back to this particular one. Because this minor pentatonic scale, you know, if we're playing A minor, bend up to that 5th. Or bend up to that root note. Just perfect position of both of these. And I guarantee if you think about it, you've heard songs that start just like this. Or maybe it's, that's it. But it also contains all of our favorite licks, which is very easy to do in this position. Or, which is also very easy to do in this position. So, the added bonus of all this being tied together is because we have our C major here, very easy to drift into our minor pentatonic. And also, we can kind of jam into our minor scale right here too. Very easily. And check this out. So we have our minor scale tucked very beautifully, well, our minor and our major scale tucked very beautifully inside of our first position pentatonic scale. And it's all right here, every bit of it. So a lot of times when I'm soloing, I will find my little area right here. And let's say, just out of the blue, they're saying, hey, we're going to be playing in G major. Okay, so I got my E minor pentatonic scale. Well, I've also got my minor scale for E minor, my full minor scale, right here for E minor. G major scale. So let's say I'm show up for a show and they're doing a song I don't know for the sake of argument. And they're saying, hey, dude, we're going to do this. What key is it in? Well, it's in the key of G. Okay, fine. I'm going to solo. I'll go straight to my E minor, something that we're all extremely, extremely proficient with. But the beautiful, beautiful thing of this is right here I also have my natural minor scale tucked into it. And that just happens to end up also to be my G major scale. Well, that makes it pretty damn simple now, doesn't it? Right here inside this little pentatonic, it has my natural minor and my major scale all tucked into it. And if we always start the major scale on the 5th string, this is always going to put us into our natural minor scale, which we can easily transition into our pentatonic scale, B minor pentatonic. And the last thing, the reason I love playing in this little area that I'm showing here. Now granted, yes, there's going to be times where we're going to jump outside the box and do tapping passages and stuff like that. But chances are 90% of your soloing is going to be contained within that one little unit, without little flights of fancy jumping in and out. But the reason I love playing here, and the reason I love playing in this position of my pentatonic scale, because we're playing E minor, I also have that E minor right there. And that's why I like playing with my major scale starting on the 5th, which I can easily run into my minor scale. And my minor scale can easily run me right back into my pentatonic scale, really without ever leaving a very small area. So real quick, one more time, if we're here in D major, well, we could easily just go to the 6th, and here we're minor. But if we're here, minor, well, now we're in our pentatonic scale. And that helps it takes a lot of the brain power out of what you're doing when you have the understanding that you can jump within those 3 scales, major to minor to pentatonic, all in one little area. It is, and the most important thing it's going to help you do is it's going to help you get out of that freaking box, that box that you get stuck in that pentatonic scale, because it's going to open up these doors. I did a video a while back, and I was talking about, I think it was the minor pentatonic scale, what do you do with it? And I said a must learn in your pentatonic scale is learning these 6 notes, which is major or minor, however you want to look at it, scale, starting off the pentatonic. And that is a must learn. That is just a very critical part of it. So I'm going to wrap that one up right there. I just thought that was a pretty cool little thing. Because a lot of people, I get messages all the time. People say, well, I get in a rut. I get stuck with this. What do I do? How do I get out of this? How do I get out of that? Well, the best way to get out of it is with knowledge. Unlike the commercial you see on YouTube, you don't even have to think. Hell, you don't even have to have fingers. Just pick up the guitar and play. Because thinking makes it worse for you. You don't even need to know theory. But when you have these little things, these little tricks, these little tips that you can combine together, that does require you to have less brain power. You still have to think. You just don't have to think quite as much. And that makes things just a little bit easier. So check that out. All these tabs will go on to my Patreon page. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. I hope this helps you and kind of opens a couple of doors for you, because I know this opened a few doors for me. It just kind of made some things just made it just that much easier to understand how these 3 things, which is, let's be honest, most of what we play are in these 3 things, how this kind of ties them together, and it kind of just starts creaking open little doors for you to start stepping through. Little places for you to go that's not always in the pentatonic scale. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. And like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss the beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. Whatever instrument you play, practice, practice, practice. Use a metronome and learn your theory. I promise it will help. Stay tuned to this channel because I've had a lot of people ask. So I am going to start a guitar class from scratch, from zero, from step one. I'm literally going to start. This is an E string. This is an E string. So I will be titling the videos beginner, so on and so on and so on. So if you look at it, you're like, well, okay, I already know this. And you can move on if you see the word beginner on it. But don't skip them all, because sometimes a little bit of a primer always helps, waking things up that you may have forgotten about. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up right there. And until the next video, rock on.